Hi, hello. How is everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me and joining us in today's webinar. Please, if everybody can hear the audio, please can somebody put in the chat? Okay, now I can. Thank you, Karen. Um, in today's webinar, we're going to be talking about Blackboard rubrics. So let's get started because we only have 30 minutes, and I'm going to try to be sharp on time, so we don't get cut out as the last time, right? So let's. I'm glad Edwidge is telling me that she can hear me. Um, why Edwidge? Karen can, and also Janet can hear my audio. So it's probably something related with you. Beth can also hear me, and she's in another office. Let me put in the chat. Everyone can hear me, but Edwidge. So the webinar is going to be recorded, and I'm going to share it later on through YouTube, so you'll be able um, to have it afterwards, right? So what are Blackboard rubrics? So Blackboard rubrics is a tool. Okay, Edwidge is going to change laptops and see if she can hear the audio. Okay, Blackboard rubrics help you evaluate student work consistently and objectively by listing evaluation criteria for any given assignment or gradable discussion board posting. These tools, the rubrics, can also be used in a wiki page, in a journal, or even a blog entry. So using rubrics in Blackboard uh, uh, will help you evaluate and grade what students submit through an assignment in Blackboard or through a discussion board, a wiki, a journal, or even a blog entry. And also they can be used without assigning a graded thing through Blackboard. We're going to see it in just a minute or so. Um, so rubrics can help students also organize their efforts to meet the requirements of an assignment, while faculty can use rubrics to explain their evaluation to students. During grading, as scores and feedback are entered into a rubric, they are also automatically reflected in the grade center, which become a considerable time saver. So we're going to see how you can create a rubric, set up a rubric, assign a rubric to a gradable item in Blackboard, and we're going to use that rubric to give feedback, to give a grade to a student, and we're going to also see how the students see that feedback that we left as instructors, right? So let's start by seeing a brief video. It's just a 3-minute video about creating a rubric.
Blackboard rubrics enable you to specify criteria and performance levels for grading, providing clear guidelines for students, instructors, and graders. This tutorial shows you how to create a new rubric and edit the Rubric Grid. You can associate rubrics with assignments, blogs, journals, wikis, discussion forums and threads, and essay, file response, and short answer test questions. When you create or edit one of these content types, you can opt to associate a rubric with it. Let's create a new rubric. Expand Course Tools in the Control Panel and select Rubrics. Click Create Rubric. Type a name for the rubric. You can provide a description for the rubric. Rubric descriptions are for instructors only and are not visible to students. In the Rubric Details section, select the type of rubric that meets your grading needs. For this example, use %. Percentage-based rubrics are more flexible than point-based rubrics. They can be associated with several different content items with varying point values. Rubrics are made up of rows and columns. The rows correspond to the criteria for a graded activity. The columns correspond to the level of achievement demonstrated by a student for each criterion. You can add a row to insert a new criterion, or add a column to introduce a new level of achievement. You can change the levels of achievement and criteria names. Now type a definition for each level of achievement in each criterion's row. Each cell in the rubric grid should clearly define the performance needed to achieve that level. You can reorder rows and columns. Click the criteria or levels of achievement heading to move them. You can adjust the percentage weight of the criteria according to your preference, or use the Balance Weights option to keep all criteria weighted equally. You can also assign a percentage value for each level of achievement cell. Now click Submit. The new rubric appears on the Rubrics page. Later, when the rubric is associated with a graded item, the grader can select the appropriate level of achievement and the score is automatically calculated. Let's review. First, access the Rubrics page and create a new rubric. Edit the rubric's rows and columns to suit your grading purpose. Later, you can associate the rubric with a gradable item to convey expectations to students and to promote consistent grading.
Okay, so let's keep in mind that rubrics can be associated with a grade center column, right? So we just saw a brief video tutorial on how we can create um, a rubric in Blackboard through the tools available in the control panel. And what you're seeing right now in my screen, this is just a rubrics grid. We can see that there are columns and there are rows, and each of the square things is a rubric cell, right? So now to um, I'm gonna switch to Blackboard. Give me just a moment, please. Now in a Blackboard course page. This is a a temporary course that I created for today's webinar. So this is a Blackboard rubrics page. Let's go to the control panel. From the control panel, we're going to click course tools here. I hope that you can follow me. And I'm going to go scroll down, and there's the rubrics section. I just click on it, and we can create a rubric or we can import a rubric. So we're going to create a rubric. I'm going to click this button, and we must provide a name for these rubrics. Let's say that I'm going to create the rubrics for all the essays that the students are going to submit in my course. I can put a description if I want to. And here's the rubric detail. Um, we, all of this is optional because this, by default, we're given by this grid, and we can define different things. This section, labeled rubric detail, is where you build the rubric itself. By default, your rubric will contain um, 3 columns of achievement, as you can see. By default, we get this novice, competent, and proficient, as well as 3 rows of assessment criteria that we get here: formatting, organization, and grammar. So we can click the add row or add column. If we want to add another one, let's say that we want to create another column. I just click that button and it adds a new column. And let's say that this column is going to be the excellent. I just go and click edit, excellent. And now I have 4 levels of achievement. If I want to delete one, I just click on the arrow out and delete the column, right? And we can, of course, this is going to be also 100%. We can change, we can enter the percent that we want to use. We can adapt this by default. We can add columns and rows. Let's say that I want to add a row here and I want to see, I'm gonna define, I'm gonna edit the content. The content of the essay is going to be, they're going to be 50%, 95, and 100. So this is going to be my rubric, and I can also add here the description for that cell. Why or how am I going to define that the formatting for this essay is going to be a novice? How why is going to be competent, proficient, or excellent? So we need to I also put here define each level of achievement. And that also will help students to know how they're going to be graded on the assignment, right? We can remember that we can rename the rows and columns. We can change the order of the rows or columns. For example, if I want to, the criteria, I want to change it. Let's say that the content, I want to bring it to the top. I just reorder and submit, and now the criteria content is on the top, right? Um, and let's say this is going to be 25%. Each of the criteria is going to be worth 25%, right? So after you've created a rubric, it will appear in the list found under Course Tools rubric. So I'm just going to submit this one. Of course, I still need to define each of the types. And I already have here my rubric created. So now the next thing is how we can use a rubric with an assignment, how to assign or how to associate this rubric to an assignment, right? So let's go back to my presentation, please. Just a moment. Let me. Okay, let me see where I can get. Give me just a moment, please, because I'm trying to. Here we go. I'm gonna share screen. Here we go. So now you're seeing successfully. You're seeing in the screen one of completed rubric. Here is just an example of how you can set up a complete rubric with all the definitions, with all the with several levels of achievement and several criteria to use. Um, this, for example, is how you can use this rubric, for example, to grade discussion boards. Um, and in this one, we would be checking for connections to foreign topic, uniqueness and creativity, critical thinking, and timeliness of content, overall quality, right? And there are 5 levels of achievement: outstanding, proficient, basic or average, below expectations, and really poor program assignment, right? Please note that if you have 2 assignments that need to use the same rubric, you don't need to copy the rubric itself. Blackboard allows you to use a single rubric for multiple assignments. So that's why, for example, I just created a single rubric that is going to be used for all the essay submissions in my course, right? So you can use the rubric for several assignments. Also, please, it is important to note that there is a 1,000 character limit for each cell in the rubric for the description of it. Rows and columns can be reordered by clicking the reordering icon. Once a rubric has been used for grading, it can't be edited. You must copy the rubric instead to create a duplicate rubric that can be edited. So once a rubric has been used in at least one of the assignments and you have used it to grade, then Blackboard will not let you edit the rubric because it's already being used for a gradable item in the grade center. So you must copy it from it, right? The total weight for all criteria must equal 100%. So also be sure if you add rows or columns, remember to always they have to equal a 100%. I have some questions over here, so let's see. Um, Care, we need to get some artwork on the wall behind your head. Okay, yes, agree. Um, can we get rid of the gallery and see only Arturo and his screen? Yeah, I think just you can just click the icon, Janet, of everybody else of the gallery, so you're able to just see the screen. And from Karen, at the top, the little icon that is a square with a line on the bottom toggles between all screen. Okay. Thanks, Karen. You're answering Janet's question. So now, let's go to how we can associate a rubric to a gradable item. Let me. So now we're gonna see this brief video on how to associate rubrics.
You can associate rubrics when creating a gradable content item. You can also associate rubrics by editing existing content items. This tutorial will show you how to edit a content item, enable grading, and associate rubrics to a content item. Rubrics can be associated with gradable content items. such as blogs, journals, wikis, discussion boards, assignments, and short answer, file response, or essay questions and tests, and pools. To begin, access a content area and edit a content item. Next, enable grading to associate rubrics to the content item. Grading only needs to be enabled for interactive tools. Associated rubrics are now visible under the Grade section. Set the possible points for grading. You can now associate rubrics to the content item. You have three options. You can create from an existing rubric. A previously created rubric serves as your template to create a new associated rubric. You can also create a new rubric. Selecting this option opens a pop-up window for the immediate creation of a new associated rubric. You also have the option to select rubrics found in Course Tools. Select the rubrics that you want to associate with the content item and submit. Multiple rubrics can be associated with an item. Rubrics can be designated as used for grading or used for secondary evaluation. If you associate multiple rubrics, only one can be the primary grading rubric, designated as used for grading. The rubrics can be visible to students at any time or only after grading has been completed. Now, submit. A success message appears on top of the page. Let's review. First, access a content area. Next, edit a content item, enable grading, and associate rubrics to the item.
Okay, as you saw in this brief video tutorial, we need to associate the rubric into an assignment. So I'm gonna go into Blackboard, and I'm in the content area assignments. I'm gonna create an assignment. I go to assessments and assignment, and I'm gonna create the assignment in Blackboard. So this is going to be essay 1. Please submit your essay for this week, and it's going to be worth 100 points. And under associated rubrics, I'm going to add the rubrics. We can select a rubric, create a new rubric, or create from existence. We're going to select a rubric that associates a rubric that has already been created. We can also create a new rubric. It will allow us to create immediately a new rubric to associate with this item. Or we can also create from existence. This will use a previously created rubric as a template to create a new rubric. So I'm going to select a rubric. It will take me to the ones that I have already created, and I'm going to select it and submit, and I have it already there, right? And then the availability, I'm going to allow a single attempt. I'm just going to keep doing make the available, and submit. So I have created the assignment, and it's linked with the rubric. I'm gonna log out as instructor, and I'm gonna log in with a demo use student account. That way you'll be able to see how a student is going to see his assignment. So I'll go into the Blackboard rubrics. This is the student view. I'll go into the assignments, and here's the essay 1. Please submit your essay. So I just click on it. This is how the students see an assignment. I'm gonna browse my computer and I'm gonna select anything. Let's see. I'm gonna submit this Word document as my essay. I can add any comments if I want to. I'm just gonna submit it. So it's generating the inline preview that we talked about it during our last webinar, right? So I just submitted as a student a document. So I'm gonna log in back as instructor, and I'll go into the course Blackboard Rubrics, and if I scroll down to the grade center, underneath grading, I can see that the test user one already submitted something under the needs grading. So I can grade the user or anonymously. I just click on it. Here's what I submitted. It's just the library extensions. So now I can grade, right? Here under the grades, I can see the rubric that I created, and I can see I can easily grade and leave feedback. That's good content, but needs to be improved. And I can easily use this rubric to grade. It automatically gives me the grade that this student will get. I can change it if I want to. Let's say that I'm going to just give him 62 points. I'm gonna give it. And I can also give more feedback to that student. Grammar, okay, bad grammar. Well organized, etc. Right? I just submit it, and the grade is going to be. I can also leave more feedback for the student. I submit it. I will log out as instructor and log in back as a student to see under my grades as a student. I'll be able to see the 62 points that my instructors gave me. I can view the attempt from here. There was the general feedback, right? I'll go to assignments. So I'm able to see just a moment. Okay, it's 12 o'clock. I can see the comments in the description. And here's what the student submitted. Does anybody has let me does anybody has question right now?
I have a question, Arturo.
Yes.
Yes. When does a student or can the student see the rubric while working? That's what I was looking for. Like, when does it become visible to the students, the rubric?
When you create an assignment, let me Let me log in as an instructor. Let me go to the Blackboard course.
While you're doing that, I guess, well, when they're getting ready to submit the work, I thought that the rubric would become visible in the event that they wanted to go over the rubric to make sure they have everything there, and the sufficient area.
Yeah. When you create the assignment, you have and you as I'm seeing. Okay. Here's the option. You must select show the rubric to students, and you can make it available to them after grading, or you can make it available for them even before they submit something, right? So I will submit it, and then let me log back as a student. So that's where you can select or specify if you want the students to be able to see the rubric that you're going to use. So I'll go to see the grades, and that student is going to be, and here's the rubric, the individual, and all the feedback that I left to that student. This is the grid view, and they can also see it as a list view. Also, when we're grading an assignment, we as instructors are able to see the grid view and the list view. So that's just a different way to show the rubrics. Um, does anybody has any other question before we are cut off because of the time constraint? Um, does anybody else?
Could you click on view rubric?
Oh, I think you didn't. So let me share. Let me stop the share. I did. I think, yeah. I think you didn't get to see here. Here it is. Now you're able to see it.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's good. I turn on the other computer next to me, and I'm seeing. Okay, now that way I'm able to see what you're seeing right now. I forgot to share this window with you. So when a student click on it, it pop ups a new window, a new browser window with all this information, and we're able to. The students is able to see all the feedback either in grid view or in list view, right? So when they go to their grades and they're able to view the rubric, if we made it available for them, and they're able to see all this information for them, right? So let me go back to um, the meeting control. Uh, Time is almost up. I think it's time. Let me go back to just a bonus tip. As you can see, rubrics can be connected to any column in your grade center. That means that you could also use Blackboard's rubrics even for assignments that aren't completed online. For example, you could use a rubric to grade class participation, attendance, or in-class presentations. So the limits are endless. You don't have to have an item built into Blackboard to be associated to a rubric. You could just go to the grade center and add a column in the grade center for attendance, for example, or for an in-class presentation, and use that rubric associated in the grade center by creating a new column. Associate the rubric with your column using the edit column information option, and that way you'll be able to use it, right? So time is up. Uh, it was nice to have you participating in this webinar. I'm gonna send you some information by email. If anybody has a comment or a follow-up question, please send it through my email. It's acol1@ju.edu. And thank you. Thanks for attending.